Greetings! As everyone knows, winter really is coming, and we better get a base up before the Zeds swarm us. While in the last build episode, I went through the entry corridor build complete with enough traps to kill any and all unwanted visitors. But without walls, that's less than useful. Today I'll be showcasing one of my favorite ways of building a basic wall segment which is protected by lines of electric fences and tripwire combos. That makes it easy to set up even early in the game, while being useful even mid to late game as you add on other defenses. It's fast to build, has low resource usage, and offers great protection. I'll be using concrete, but you could be doing this with other materials that you have, and later on upgrading to steel is definitely recommended to increase durability. Another good thing with the build is that the size is really up to you. Because it doesn't really matter up to a limit of around 15 how long the wall is, you can really decide that on your own. Now I've done some digging on my own just to save a little bit of time. So this, as you can see, is just a general shape. I'm going to start by placing 14 blocks out from the corridor wall. That's just to help give the shape to the wall itself. And outside of that, I'm going to place a little bit of a different kind of structure here, and you'll see in a while why. So I'll be placing blocks 2 down and a couple ahead, and that's where I'll be placing the electric fences. In between here, I'll be placing a 10 long segment, and then I'll have a sort of a tower structure here with another 2 blocks down for the electric fences. And that's just the outline of the tower. And the segment here is effectively going to be exactly the same. I ran out of concrete. One moment here. Alright. So I'm going to do another 10 blocks here. And you'll see there'll be another 2 blocks which are 1 down again on the ground, and then I'm just going to fill up here. And you'll see the build is pretty symmetrical, and the reason I'm doing it this way is because I'm assuming that I'll be having another corridor on this side as well, so that I'll have corridors leading into the base from northwest southeast. And let me just fill up the blocks here as well. Alright, so this is the basic outline. You'll see I have the holes. And let me start placing down the fence post and the tripwire post as well. So the tripwire post goes on the higher block. That's because it's a very small one. The electric fence, because its size is 1.5 blocks, it needs to be down in the ground in order to be capturing zombies that might be crawling. And dogs. If it's higher up, it won't take them. So I'll be placing 2 fences here and another tripwire. And the final fence post here with the final tripwire. Now you might be already catching on what this is going to be. So I have a power outlet here. Let me connect here, first one. And it has to be for the corner tripwire. Now, why is that, you might wonder? Well, it's simply because the way I'm going to be connecting the tripwires here, you'll see that in a second. I'll be connecting the corner one to the one next to the corridor, and I'll be connecting that one to the fence. And the fence will then loop back. This means that if the tripwire is tripped, the fence will activate. And you can't change that any way you want to, because it's only going to turn on if the tripwire is being hit. So we'll do the same thing here. Connect the tripwire to the fence and the fence post to each other. And this is basically the setup for the tripwires and the fence. So that part is already completed. If I walk on them, I will be electrocuted. So now that part is done, I'm going to start filling up the rest of the blocks just so you can see the shape of it. And of course you could do this any way you want to. This is just a way that I think looks pretty good, and it's pretty effective at Oh, sorry, I misplaced that one. It's pretty effective in helping to just funnel the zombies towards the tripwire. So one corner here, another one here. And it'll be a very similar design on the base corner as well. Now, to protect the side of the electric fence, I've decided to use just a concrete plate. That one doesn't take a lot of space in the block, which means it fits in pretty well. And they usually are a lot easier to place after you've connected all the tripwires and the fences, because due to the distance, otherwise it might be difficult to target them. Let's place another one here. Let's build up this side as well. Again, as you can see, it's a very similar shape for all the sides, so it's pretty straightforward to build. Let's see if I can get the right shape here. Alright. So on the left side is where the other corridor would be connecting once it's built. So it'll look exactly the same as on the other side as well. So again, that's just to show the outline. And of course, we can't just leave it with just electric fences. We need some real walls. So my recommended way of doing this is just to use the poles. They give pretty good visibility, and it does allow you to attack through quite easily as well. Now, if you prefer something else, any block really works. I mean, you could be using the 50 pillars, you could be using arrow slits, but if you use the poles, you basically end up with 2 high, or you could do 3 and 4. Mistaken placement here. You could obviously be having them higher, and you probably want to have them higher at some point to prevent the spider zombies from climbing in. But if you want something else, you could also be using just the normal blocks, which looks pretty good as well. It's really up to how you want to have your base look. Having full blocks, even though it looks a little bit better at times, it does prevent you from looting easily. So that's a bit of a downside. It also means that it's not easy to attack any crawlers, any dogs, because they usually are below your sight line there. So let's build up these towers as well to make them too high. Obviously we don't want to have the zombies just jumping over them. And I think this again is where the auto rotate just really helps. That's one of the things that was really painful in building in previous versions. When you wanted to just replicate a certain section, you would just have to just keep on spinning until you found the correct shape. So just copying the rotation really helps. So let's place some poles here. I'll give us some visibility and just finish up the corner next to the corridor. I keep misplacing those ones. And I think that one is in the wrong block. Let me just replace that one. There we go. And the final pole. Excellent. So we're done. The wall is pretty much complete. Again, it won't be stopping any spider zombies. They might be hitting the electric fence and get electrocuted, but obviously they can still climb over the other sections as well. So let's spawn in some zombies here just so you can see how it looks, and let's get in just a regular one here. Let's get Mr. Bow and see if he has decided to walk around instead. I guess he's smarter than he looks. Let's see if we can get him to walk into the fence instead of trying to go around. Alright, so he'll walk up to the fence, get electrocuted. Of course, if he survives, they'll be start beating on the poles, which is, again, why you want to have them a durable material. Let's get another one in. And she is coming in. And by having the poles, it does allow you to attack them through, and so that's one of the big benefits. Let's get in. Let's see a couple of them here. And the feral one decided to run around. Well, obviously this is just a couple of sections of the base, it's not the full base, because that would be happening all the time, even for all the hordes. And with the poles you can loot easily. If you don't have the poles and you have full blocks, that becomes a lot harder. Using 50 pillars would work, you just have a slightly less visibility and reach through the 50 pillars. And this is how it looks from an elevated position. So it's pretty straightforward. It does give you pretty good sight lines and is pretty effective against just the normal zombies. So how can you improve it? Well, obviously you want to make sure that you have your spikes outside. What you can also do, and what I normally do, is I end up replacing the bottom with just some steel spikes or scrap iron spikes. Log spikes are a little bit harder because they break so easily. They'll help to give more damage to the zombies as they walk up. And let's get in a zombie just to show that. And of course she wants to go around. Let's kneecap her here. Come on. We need someone to show how it looks. Alright, here she comes. And there she lost a leg. So even before the fence gets activated, they will be taking damage on the spikes. And again, it just helps to give damage and kill them faster. And either way, you probably want to have wood spikes placed outside of the walls just to slow down the incoming hordes and deal damage. Like with any base build, if they do clump up a group of them, they can bash through even concrete and steel pretty fast. The whites, the zombie bears, and the cops, they do a lot of damage even to steel. Hopefully this gives you some ideas of how to construct your own base walls. I'll be adding more sections later on that utilize other traps, as I like having variety in the zombie killing, both visually, but also to make it more fun when the zombies attack. So we'll be building walls protected by blades and turrets later on, but that obviously requires a lot more resources and items, which can be tough to churn out early game. And that's why the electric walls is a great way to start. Do leave me your thoughts and ideas for wall builds in the comment section below, and leave me a sub and a like if you find the guide helpful. Until next time.